Welcome back. Today we're going to be working on making our kombucha. Yes. So, maybe this is a refresher for you, for those who have taken the classes with me. And if this is your first time learning about kombucha, let's get started. So, what we would like to do is, I'm going to be using an electric water kettle. You can use the stove if you want as well. Either way, we're just going to heat us up some water here. And I'm going to be pouring in only about a liter. I don't want to use the whole bottle just yet. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. But so for right now, just going to heat up about a liter of it. You see how much is left in there. So we'll go ahead and let that heat up. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and I have already wiped my hands down. I've washed them really well, but I like to wipe them down with distilled vinegar just to make sure my hands are really good and clean. I take off all my metal jewelry, stuff like that, so working with the bare hands. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and get the kits out that we have. If you have not purchased a kit and you would like to purchase a kit, you can check out our website at healingnaturallybynature.com. I'll put a link below. So this is one of the kits that we've got out on how to make your own kombucha. Everything you need is in there, and even comes with a cup of starter tea and your SCOBY. Okay, so that's all in the kit. $35 for everything you need, which is going to include your recipe, 15 grams of tea, your cup of sugar in it, this is going to be a coffee filter. We'll put that over the top. We'll use that a little bit later. And it's got your thermometer in there. It's got your, it's got our contact information, so you can call and be like, help, help, is my SCOBY okay? And I'll say, yes, that'll be fine. So that's how you can get a hold of us for any questions that you have or anything like that. It comes with your rubber band and a sticker that says when you started your tea. So all that stuff is included. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and, oh, I forgot to put in a cotton bag. Okay, I'm back. But a reusable cotton tea bag is also going to be in the kit. I've just been, so while we're waiting for the hot water, we're going to go ahead and take all of our tea that's included in your kit, or it's about 15 grams of either a straight black tea or a straight green tea. You never want to use any kind of teas that have any essential oils in it, or citrus rinds or anything like that, because that will damage the new SCOBY growth. So it just won't allow it to grow. So you just want to make sure that you're using just a pure green tea or black tea or a red tea. And when you do your second fermentation, then you can, use your fun flavored teas. But for the very first fermentation, just the straight up tea. So we've got our tea in there. I'm going to tie up our bag real tight. You might get some little pieces of loose tea in there. You can scoop them out, or you can leave them in there. It doesn't really matter. If you have a couple little pieces floating around, it's okay. So our tea is ready in there. Just going to move this out of the way. And before we use this as well, you want to make sure that you wash it really good with soap and water and rinse it really well. But then I also like to use the white vinegar to pour in there and slosh around and, you know, wipe out really good with paper towel and make sure that you got all the soap residue off, so that way there's none of that prohibiting the growth of your new SCOBY. So, and we'll go ahead and get our cup of sugar poured out. Yep, perfect. 1 cup of just regular organic cane sugar. Great. Alright, so we have all that ready. Let's check our water. Okay, it is at about 195 right now, so good and hot. Go ahead and get that poured in. It doesn't need to be that hot. You really only need it to be around 100 degrees. Can go hotter, but you want it to be at least 100 degrees so it is able to pull out, you know, the tea, the caffeine and stuff like that properly. So you want your tea to be strong enough, because the tea and sugar is what your SCOBY is going to really thrive off of. Those are the 2 very necessity components to making the kombucha. So we're going to go ahead and pour in our sugar and stir it up and get that dissolved. Make sure you don't have any chunks in there. Just get it all stirred up so it's good and even. And then we'll go ahead and plop in our tea bag. Give it a couple pokes. Okay, get it nice and submerged in there. Alright, then we're going to let that steep for about a good 5 minutes. You can let it go longer than that if you want a little bit stronger of a tea, but 5 minutes is, you know, sufficient. So during that time, I'll just kind of talk a little bit while I'm letting that steep a little, and just give you some reminders about some of the benefits that have, you know, been observed by other people as to, you know, how kombucha's helped them. You know, kombucha's been around for over 2,500 years, so it's, you know, a pretty tried and true tested tonic. So some of the benefits that people have seen, well, that we know at least, is that it does help to put your probiotics back into your gut, which is going to be great to help stabilize your metabolism, boost your immune system. It's going to boost your energy, since you're going to be able to properly digest your food. It helps with, you know, digestion, helps with bowel function. It's a great antioxidant. Speeds up the healing of ulcers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. People have been able to get off of their acid reflux medication, their IBS medication. It's a really great, healthy drink. So, and learning to make it yourself is going to save you lots of money. I know when you go to the store, you can get a little 8-ounce bottle anywhere between $3 and $4, maybe even $5. So this is going to be a lot more cost-effective way of getting that daily dose of kombucha in for a lot cheaper. And also another benefit of making your own is that you can flavor it to however you like. So I like to make a gallon of it and store it in the refrigerator And as I want to drink it, I'll pour myself a glass of kombucha and then just top it off with a little bit of juice, whether I feel like having orange juice or blueberry pomegranate juice or a mango juice. Sometimes I'll get a tea bag and drop in like a hibiscus tea, or, you know, just anything. You don't even have to flavor it if you don't want to. So, you know, you just kind of tailor it to whatever your taste is. And if you want to make it really fizzy, like a natural soda, then you can do that by putting it through a second fermentation. And you can watch that process on our next video. This video is just going to be about the initial process of making the kombucha. So, I think I've talked for at least 5 minutes, so I'm sure this is good and steeped and ready. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and take this tea bag out, smush it against the sides here a little bit just to get some of the extra tea out of there. Okay, set that aside. And just for fun, let's check the temperature and see how it really, adding the rest of that water is going to bring it down. So right now we're at about 142. If you want the process to go a little quicker, don't allow it to get quite so hot like I did, but I guess time kind of got away from me and it got pretty hot. So we're going to go ahead and add the remainder of our water. We're not actually going to use a full gallon because we are going to need to save ourselves some room in our jar to be able to pour in your cup of starter tea plus the SCOBY, as well as save yourself about 2 inches from the top. So you're really not going to use a full gallon. Now if you have a bunch of other SCOBYs, say you have a SCOBY hotel, or you know you have a lot of SCOBYs like I do, then you can go ahead and make a gallon of it and use some of that sweet tea to feed your hotel or the other SCOBYs or whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and just save myself a little bit. I don't need all that, so I'll just sort of set this aside. Give that a stir. Now when you're using the water, make sure that you're using either distilled water, or if you collect your own spring water, or if you have a really good well. Those are the top 3 types of water that are the most beneficial to use. You really want to stay away from the tap water. The tap water is, you know, full of chlorine and fluoride and whatever else stuff they put in the water. So the chlorine will inhibit the growth of your new SCOBY, so that will, you know, you want to stay away from that as much as possible. So let's go ahead and check the temperature now that we've put in the remainder of the water. It's at about 95, so it's still about 10 degrees too warm. So what we're going to do though is I'm going to go ahead and let's see how this works. Normally I do this over the sink, but since I have everything here, just yeah, that's why I do it over the sink. Oh. use this little guy to dip in there. Wish me luck. There we go. That should be good. Alright. Check it again. Wow, just in that little bit of time and aeration from doing that, it came down about another 5 degrees. So we're looking at about 90 degrees right there. 85 is usually about where we want to, about the warmest that you want to put in your SCOBY. You don't want to put it in when it's too hot, because then it can, you know, damage the SCOBY. Because remember, the temperature that we're wanting to keep it at is going to be between 75 and 85 degrees. If it goes too much colder than that, then it will not allow your SCOBY to properly kind of digest the sugar and the caffeine and stuff like that. So it's going to pretty much sort of put it into a hibernation mode. And at that point, you're going to put yourself at risk for getting mold on top of your SCOBY. So that's never a good thing. So making sure that, you know, this is very important too. So I've got my date on there when I got this made, and just slap that on there. And so just check the temperature of it daily and make sure it's warm enough, and you don't want it to get, you know, really over 85, because then you'll start to cook off the yeast and stuff like that, and then it'll throw your brew out of balance. So you don't want it too cold, you don't want it too hot. It's kind of like, gotta keep it right there at that sweet spot. So let's check this again. Yep, okay. Cools down pretty quickly, so that's great. So we've got our tea put in there. We're gonna go ahead and take our SCOBY out, okay. That in there. I'm going to go ahead and add my other little one. It's not quite as big, so I'm just going to put both of them in there just because they were kind of a little on the smaller side. So, and then pour your cup of starter tea right on top. All right. Tell it good luck. And get your coffee filter, put it on there, your rubber band, store it in a safe, dark location out of direct sunlight, and after about a week you can check on it, take a straw and just sort of dip it down in there and taste test it, and if you like it to be a little bit on the sweeter side, then go ahead and take your SCOBY out. At this point you're going to have 2 SCOBYs, so take your 2 SCOBYs out and save yourself a cup of your fermented tea for every SCOBY. So you're going to have 2 cups of tea that you set aside and 2 SCOBYs you set aside, and at that point you can take this jar, and you know, after you've taken your SCOBYs out, and if you like it at the sweeter point, then go ahead and put it in your refrigerator and just pour yourself a glass. I'd start small, start with about 2 to 4 ounces, you know, let your body get used to it, and then as you're used to it, I would start drinking about 8 ounces a day. You don't want to go too much over that because it can make your stools a little loose. So, I mean, if you need something like that, well then drink more, but if not, a nice, you know, 8 ounces per day is about the right amount to drink. So 2 weeks is usually about where I like to let it ferment to. That's the taste that I like. If you let it go longer, over 3 weeks, then it's going to start to get more of a vinegary, and it might start to get a little bit more on the alcoholic side because it is a fermented beverage. So anyway, thank you so much for joining. Please, if you enjoyed our video, hit the subscribe button and check out our links below to the website. And I'll see you back for our next video on the second fermentation, on making your kombucha nice and fizzy. So thanks so much. Bye.